Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door,
And me, Than.
bringing you your weekly double tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Force. We are sans DK once again this week.
Because he's lazy.
Well, he says busy, but we say lazy.
They're both four-letter words that end in Y.
But we miss you, buddy. I hope you hurry back soon.
Steve-O misses you.
Yeah, DK Than is indifferent to so that's kind of how he rolls. Look, we had a good old chat with him last week, and it was so good that we decided that we have him back again this week. Mostly because I felt bad that we've done 2 pods with him now and have given him all but half an hour to prepare for both of them. So this week we'd like to welcome back to the podcast our man out of St. George, Thunder. What's up, man?
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I feel like half an hour to prepare was probably a generous estimate. But
Well, I'm a
it's good
slow
to be here.
I'm a slow typer. That's how long it takes me to type. Hey, man, are you free? But yeah, so we talked last week sort of about how you found Detroit and obviously your guys' upcoming tournament as well. But we thought we'd delve a little bit deeper because obviously you've been on the scene now for a number of years.
It's been a while.
How do you know when you first started playing?
Oh boy, I believe it was 2003.
Yeah, holy
I
crap!
started.
Damn whippersnappers.
It might have been late 2002, early 2003, somewhere right around there.
Yeah.
Our place opened in the year 2000.
Yeah.
It sounds about right.
And we had a different system, a different laser tag system for the first about 2.5 years.
Right.
And then they upgraded to Laser Force.
Nice.
There was a site in Vegas
Yes, there was.
that closed,
Yep.
and we bought their system.
Right.
So funny kind of off-ramp with that Vegas site, and I promise this will all come back around. So that Vegas site was in a Laser Quest site that had closed. So it was Force equipment in a Laser Quest maze, and all that implies as far as the amount of fucking mirrors, which was just really interesting. But the equipment that was in that site, which you guys eventually got, wasn't original to Vegas. It was from a site in Pennsylvania that had closed. It was a site in Pennsylvania that had been open for like less than a year and went out of business.
Yep.
And their equipment got bought by the people in Vegas to put into the closed Laser Quest site, where it also didn't get all that much use, unfortunately, and it then ended up in St. George. So your guys' site code is what, 4-2, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The reason it's 4-2 when Sacramento's is 4-3 and you guys opened after we did is because the Pennsylvania site opened before we did.
Right. Yeah.
So random trivia.
So it's crazy because it sounds to me, aside from where your equipment came from, like your numbers kind of align with mine. Like our site opened in 2000. I started playing 2003. So, and from what we talked about last week, our mazes kind of play similarly. So it's all pretty interesting.
Yeah. We I remember I went in one day, and they were talking about how they had some new system and that they were selling lifetime memberships for $1. And we were like, oh, well, what do you get? And they were explaining all the special abilities and all this stuff, and we were like, well, that sounds like a pretty good setup. I mean, why wouldn't we do it? And So that's when I started. That's when I started playing, and it
Lifetime
was off.
member.
It was. I mean, they were still kind of figuring out the system then. I mean, they hadn't had it very long when I started, and it was really cool.
So, you come in as a fresh-faced young man with your dollar membership, lifetime membership. um, did you bring in a crew, or were there already sort of like an established membership?
There was a little bit of an established membership. Like I said, when I started, they'd only had the system for probably 4 months
Right.
or something. So I mean, they were still trying to figure out what was going on.
Mm.
But they kind of had a crew of players, and then I brought one of my friends.
Mm.
Was just me and one friend, and we kind of joined, and they were the guys who were already there were they didn't like to split up. They were like all the best players there, and none of them would split up. So it was like me and my friend just getting smashed over and over. For
Gee, that sounds so familiar from so many sites. You know, all the people not wanting to split up to make things fairer for everything.
So me and my buddy, they'd be like, "Oh, let's play Space Marines or whatever." So me and my buddy would go try to recruit like kids in the lobby playing arcade games or something to play on our team. And
Right, you're gonna play our resupply. I'm gonna play Commander, obviously.
yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. So you guys are playing Space Marines even then.
We started playing pretty early. Yeah.
Did you ever go through the SM4 phase, or was it just straight into?
We did. Actually, we started with SM5 and we played exclusively SM5. I mean, I went in on Saturdays and played. I mean, I've got hundreds and hundreds of standard games under my belt, probably 1,000. I mean, so I did that a lot too. But we played almost exclusively SM5.
Yeah. And
then back in some year that was a long time ago, 2007 maybe, or so. There was a number of active sites in like Illinois and Indiana. There was 2 or 3 of them owned by the same person, and there was quite a few regulars who had been playing SM5 over there, and so they wanted to host the Nationals that year, whatever year it was. But because no one had really played tournaments and they wanted to be welcoming to newer players, they wanted to run the tournament in SM4 and not in SM5.
Right.
Which we were really opposed to, and we told him, we said we don't want to play SM4. And we did not end up persuading them. So in preparation for that, we played SM4, mostly SM4 for about a year.
Oh wow.
To prepare for that, and it ended up getting canceled because no one else signed up. So I've played quite a bit of SM4, but we basically started and ended with SM5.
That's aggravating to say the least.
Yeah.
Isn't Indiana quite far away from you guys?
Yeah, we definitely would have flown to that one. Yeah.
Right. Right on. So they were going to host some an SM4 tournament. What was the first internationals that you played at?
The first internationals.
Yeah. Or nationals, either way.
It was Chula Vista in whatever year that was, 2009 or something.
2009, yeah.
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
2010 because
Yeah,
it was 2010 because 2009 was in Detroit.
Which I thought about going to that, and I know the ones that were hosted in Texas in the early 2000s.
Yep.
Some of the better players from our site, 1 or 2 of them, had talked about going to that, but never
and then they
ended
didn't
up doing it. Yeah. So I mean, I was aware of the scene, but I didn't actually play till 2010.
Right. So was that your first competition, or was that?
We had gone to the West Coast in Sacramento earlier than that.
That was in 2009 because that was literally like I got back to Sacramento in late December of '08, and I'm pretty sure we did the first West Coast in like January or
Yeah,
February ish.
Mm.
that sounds right. I
Because
remember driving through a snowstorm through Lake Tahoe and almost dying. So it was definitely winter.
yeah,
No
accurate.
thanks. No thank you.
Um, but yeah, that was basically because Sacramento from like basically late 2004 till like August of 2008 was not a laser force; it was a
Right.
zone. And when Sean Yama from Sacramento basically bought when he bought the site from the original owners in 2008, he put Laser Force back into it. So I think it was like November of 2008 that Laser Force came back to the Sacramento facility, and then I got back to Sacramento in December. So like literally the entire time I was gone from Sacramento was when it didn't have Laser Force. So I think I timed that rather well. And then and it was basically because because the equipment was back and it was Laser Force again. It was like, well, let's try and you know try and start rebuilding the scene, and it made sense to try to get some little regional stuff to try to get some more people involved and this
Yeah.
that and the other.
Yeah, so that was like my first official tournament. Depending on what you think is valid, the Vegas side actually had quite a few members. I mean, they had a lot. So we actually
Yes.
hosted quite a few tournaments with those guys over the years as they slowly fizzled out because
Right.
they didn't have a place to play in Vegas. But they drove up to St. George and played with us 6 or 8 times or so.
wow.
And the place was really good about hosting tournaments back then. I mean,
Yeah.
other than the few Vegas people, it was just us. But I played quite a few tournaments with those guys, which I remember a lot of them were kind of disasters. And I mean, we had a hybrid of Gen 4 and Gen 5 suits.
Ooh.
We had the Gen 4 suits, but the Gen 5 vests. We had a few Gen 4, or sorry, Gen 5 guns.
Yep.
We had a few Gen 4 guns, but mostly Gen 5s.
Right.
A lot of people didn't know what they were doing, and it was kind of a disaster. But I played a few back then with those guys.
Well, when you guys played, because I know when we played in Chula Vista, the rule set we played by was what was deemed as the US rule set, which was
Right.
more of a zone, I guess, style of play. Were you guys playing that, or were you playing how more similar to how we play now?
That's a good question. We were playing by the rules that we played in Chula Vista.
Right.
However, our organizer, our top member, or whatever you want to call him, that really taught me how to play and organized, I mean, everything that we have today, started the whole thing. He was really involved in the scene. I know he went to Sacramento and he went to Sugarland at one point.
Was that Ender?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember Ender.
He was involved in the scene. He knew what was going on. He had written copies of the rules. Like he was in communication with basically
Me.
the other two sites. Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Jeff. Yeah.
So what's funny is we until we started playing by the I guess you could call it the shoulder rule officially in 2000 whatever it was 11.
Yeah.
We were practicing every day with the rules we played in Chula Vista, but we actually, when we played our inner site tournaments and when the Vegas guys came up and played tournaments with us, we actually played by the shoulder rule even way
wow.
back then.
Yeah,
So-
cutting edge.
Yeah,
It's the cutting edge of laser tag. None of this,
yeah.
none of this, gun around the corner bullshit. Okay, well that's interesting because like I know that seemingly that rule was kind of the standard, it seemed.
Yeah.
Across the US, or from what I was told anyway. I could be wrong. Dan will be able to correct me. But yeah, with the guys in Chula Vista, I know that after that tournament, when people came back and there was a bunch of discussion that happened around it, people were keen to switch. People were keen to switch to the shoulder rule, except for seemingly the guys out of Chula Vista.
Yeah, the guys out of Chula Vista, I mean, almost all of them were zone players before they were force players.
Right.
And, to be honest, the guys in Chula Vista were never super into the competitive stuff anyway.
Right.
I know a lot of people say, oh, they quit because of the rules and this and that. And it's, well, maybe, but we've always really enjoyed traveling and going other places. And back then, we went to Chula Vista as a team a lot. I mean, I think our one trip we brought 14 or 15 people down there.
Oh wow.
I've played well over 200 games there.
Yeah.
And we went down there I've probably been to 15 of their members nights.
Wow.
And they've never come here, ever. Other than for the one tournament we held, they never even had a single person come here.
That's
accurate. That's terrible.
I just don't think they were ever really super into traveling in tournaments as it was. I mean, I think it was just convenient for them to have their own tournament.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's a shame because I guess it's for me anyway, one of the best parts about being involved in this community is the travel. Like, Laser Force has taken most of us around the world, Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I say around the world,
yes.
to the Pacific and and to your guys' neck of the wood.
Maybe one day.
But yeah, it's a shame. It's limiting, but I guess it's personal choice. So
Yeah.
So how many like I suppose tournaments, and maybe we'll whittle it down to nationals or internationals, have you actually played?
I've played in all the West Coast tournaments, so that makes 4. We have been, like I said, we've done a lot of traveling, so I guess it depends on what you classify as a tournament. Like I said, we took full teams down to Chula Vista probably 6 or 8 times, maybe more.
Yeah.
To play down there, just kind of like us and them.
Yeah.
We went to Colorado, and they actually officially called it. I think they called it the Mountain West Tournament or something like that.
That's awesome.
But we had almost 2 full teams from here, and then Colorado had another, I think, 3.
Yeah.
So depending on what you count as a tournament, and then I've played all of the national tournaments except for the one in Detroit in 2009, and the other one in Detroit, whichever year that was.
2013.
Yeah.
It was 2013.
So I played in all the ones other than those 2.
Wow. So some quick maths. Then what does that work out to be?
A few.
Damn
a few.
Wow.
It's
So
like 10-ish.
Yeah.
10, 12, something like that.
Which is, it's like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But you haven't traveled outside the States for one yet.
Not yet. It's on the to-do list.
Were you looking at the last Brisbane one?
I was. I couldn't get work off.
Right. I thought I heard a rumor or some rumblings about you coming down that way.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I was trying to get work off, but
goddamn work.
I mean, I feel like you should make sure that your Google Flight Tracker is already set up for Auckland, just in case there happens to be like some like flash sale.
Yeah, that's
because
a good idea.
Honestly, like that's how / why I ended up going to Brisbane in 2018 was I had that set up, and ticket prices like dropped to a certain level. It was like, okay, because my wife was coming also because she's from Brisbane originally, and going down without her would have ended up with me being divorced when I got back, I'm sure. But we were able to both get round trip tickets for under $2,000 total for both of us.
That's pretty
from Dallas. So it just happened to be that caught like it's like some 24-hour sale. I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do that. So so for everybody else listening to this podcast, if you're even considering going to Auckland for nationals next year, go onto flights.google.com, set up a time range, and just let it look for you, so you don't have to be checking it every day.
Do it.
We're gonna shill the crap out of this tournament.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are. Well, okay, so but that's quite a number of years, like, of high level of play.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. Like I've been around as long as you. I think I played maybe as many internationals, but not nearly as many, probably high competitive games as that. Yeah, that's awesome. I suppose it makes a difference having that many competitive sites in the same country, but also,
yeah.
I mean, with Vegas, like those days, with them only being an hour and a half away,
Yeah.
with Chula Vista being like an hour flight. 2-hour flight?
I had never flown there.
No.
We always just drove. It's about 6.5 hours. So it's not that bad.
Not too
maybe
bad.
7 hours.
Yeah. We did the Vegas LA drive on this last trip, and it didn't take too long. But for us, like driving 4 hours for us is a long time.
Well, yeah, because you're used to in New Zealand, you drive 4 hours and suddenly
we run out of
one
country.
side. Yeah, pretty much. although to be fair, if you're going north to south,
It's a
then
distance.
it takes a little longer to run out of country. But east to west, not much time at all.
So, what would you say is your favorite arena out of the ones that you played?
Ooh. If you don't count ours, I would say I like so many of them. I really like San Marcos.
Yeah.
I like Sacramento.
Mm.
I think the downstairs is a little too big, but I do like it.
Mm.
I like Syracuse.
Syracuse was fun. Like,
Yeah.
and their bouncy floor was just the best
for
thing in
sure.
the world to run on.
Yeah, their bouncy floor is definitely like if any operator is putting carpet into their maze, if they just want to put that that half-inch pad under it, so that so that your ankles and your knees aren't getting totally destroyed. That definitely has my vote. Sanch really did a fantastic thing with doing that for sure.
It was genius. Yeah, what else you got?
Oh, I think it would probably be between San Marcos and Sacramento for my favorite.
I liked Sac. Like, I think the cutouts, the castle cutouts for me, like, really pissed me off. But aside from that, like, I quite like the layout, and there wasn't really, like, there's not a good place to kind of set up a defense. Or at least
there's just less bad places.
Yeah. They're like not a conventional, you're in that corner base and you're in that corner base and you set up your reset there and go for it. Like that one, you have to actually watch multiple directions and, set up in corridors, and it was really cool, really challenging arena.
Yeah, I for the most part do not like two-story arenas. I just don't think any of them play well. And Sacramento is really the only one where I don't hate playing there in a two-story arena.
Do you guys?
Well, to be fair, also on that, because you guys never you guys don't use the second story in your maze. There's a little bit of just biasing there in that you're used to playing in a single story environment. It's like Syracuse players, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's no second floor in Syracuse at all, so they sometimes just run into challenges is the best word I can come up with on short notice with when you add a second level to what they're dealing with. It's just something that you're not used to necessarily processing on a minute by minute basis. I mean, obviously you figure it out, but it's just because it's not your norm, it becomes a little more challenging to deal with.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like, I assume that you're talking more in a sense of, as opposed to everything being linear, like in front of you, you're getting shot from above or below. Is that kind of?
Not really. I feel like that's not a huge deal.
Right.
My biggest problem with two-story arenas is, first of all, that you have this massive downstairs area, and then you have this tiny upstairs area, and you play most of the game in this tiny area upstairs, and then a small part of the game, I guess you could say a big part, most of the game is played in that small area, and a very little part of the game is played in the big area.
Right.
And I would say my biggest problem with them is that, like, when you're losing, you just run downstairs and hide, and that's like the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And so you have this massive area downstairs where you just fill everybody up on lives and run downstairs and hide the whole time, and we're all like okay with this.
Yeah.
Like, this is like fine with everybody apparently. I don't know. That's one of the reasons I like Sacramento's, because their upstairs is big enough you can actually play on it.
Right.
But so many of them, the upstairs is so small.
So it's interesting.
That's fair.
Because Auckland, like, we have a small upstairs area, and a decent amount of play happens up there. But we also, because there's a good resup spot upstairs and a good one downstairs, it means that play gets split across those two levels, rather than everyone either upstairs or everyone's downstairs, and you have this big chunk of wasted arena. We did actually have a big one of the corners got barely used, and the owners ended up reclaiming some of the maze and put a party room there. And they kept a door there so you can actually open up and have it as part of the arena again if you wanted to in the future. But for the most part, they got rid of the dead space, which I thought was kind of clever. But so I guess what do you dig about your maze, like, aside from that's where you played the most games?
I've said this many times before, and obviously I acknowledge my bias, but I do think ours is the best arena I've ever played in by a lot.
Well, now I feel like I really missed out on not coming up to see you guys.
And my favorite, I liked it. We do have, like Dan said, we do have a second floor.
Yeah.
It's extremely small. There are rebar cross beams across the entire thing at like 6 foot 1 inch. So I mean, if you're even slightly tall, you're gonna get a concussion.
Rusty Baden.
So I mean, we've played a few hundred Space Marines games full arena.
Yeah.
But we only play downstairs, and so the first thing I like is that it's small.
Yeah.
And then it's the opposite of all these two-story arenas where, oh, we're losing, oh, we're not that good, oh, we're just going to run downstairs and hide.
Right.
Oh, yay, we're all very skilled. But in ours, you have to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no running away. You cannot get away. You have to fight like a man. And I know that's very difficult for people. That you can't run away and hide.
Thunder throwing shade to like fucking everybody right now. It's fucking fantastic.
This is brilliant.
And so yeah, you have to fight the whole time. And like it's basically a square, and the resupply from kind of opposite corners.
Mm,
But when you get kicked out of your resupply spot, you're getting kicked towards the enemy team, not away from them.
right.
I mean, the fighting just doesn't end, which is, I think, if we had a larger scale tournament, or maybe even this one, the mistake a lot of people would make is in most other arenas, you can get away with sticking newer players as resupply, especially something like medic.
Mm.
Good luck getting away with that in ours. Because your resupply are going to be fighting for their lives the whole game.
So
Uh,
that's essentially why it lends itself to, you know, to elims, right? Is because there's
yeah,
nowhere that you can run away to. If you have a team that's as dominant as I've seen you guys be, oof.
yeah, and so I like that it's small and one floor like that. And then for that reason, the whole arena is used every game. That's something that I don't know. It comes back to two-story arenas, but it's like you got an arena like Detroit, and you play the whole game upstairs,
Mm,
and then the very end is played downstairs. Well,
mm,
even after a week of playing there, I was still running into dead ends downstairs,
yeah,
and I watched a ton of other people do it.
yeah.
So I feel like big arenas like that kind of have like a really large learning curve, because the downstairs is still somewhere you can go, but you have very little experience there.
Right.
Whereas in ours, I mean, you really get everybody is in every inch of that arena
Mm,
the whole time. There's no unused areas, or there's no areas that people wouldn't be familiar with,
yeah.
or something like that.
It kind of
Um,
sounds like um, you have to be fundamentally good at laser tag in order to play your arena because, again, you can kind of get away with it a little bit in some instances if you're say a medic, or if you can rely on your heavy or something
yeah,
to keep most of the other players out. But yeah, it sounds
yeah.
like you have to be good at shooting people.
I would definitely say it has a high skill ceiling.
Yeah.
That your skill would definitely come out. Um, and a lot of that is also evidenced by the fact that we find that every single class really contributes. You
Mm,
see a lot of arenas where scouts don't really have as much influence on the game, or the resupply don't have as much influence on the game, or
mm,
whatever it is. In ours, I mean, we seriously see people carry from any position,
mm,
because it's so easy to move around. The arena's so mobile. Scouts can get behind people, and resups are kind of forced to fight.
mm,
And we have a lot of the time we'll take, for example, our four best players, and we'll stick two of them as three hits on one team and two of them as scouts on the other.
right.
And the team with the better scouts wins as often as the team with the good three hits.
Right.
I was telling Van this a week or two ago, but since we started keeping stats, I've played 100 and some odd games as scout, and my average is over 9,000
Yeah. Wow.
with over 100 games,
Yeah.
because you really can perform you can carry the game as any position, just because it's so easy for the scouts to slip behind the three hits and shoot them in the back and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah. I suppose, you can't, rely on somebody else, carrying the team. Can't really take a game off
Yeah.
because it puts your team under duress.
Yeah.
You guys will absolutely love our arena.
Yeah, that's certainly accurate.
Yeah. I think you guys would kill it in our arena. There is the aspect of there is a small upstairs, but because it's so small and the rest of the arena really does get used.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess ours is a little bit more forgiving, where you do have a couple of spaces where you can run away, but very briefly. Like I'm
Mhm.
talking 30 seconds, and somebody will find
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we have good fallback spots. I mean, they work. We have at least we have options for that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. They're just not like, oh, I can just run down the ramp and I'm totally
I'm gonna
safe.
disappear for 4
Hey,
minutes.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Do it like and I think what makes it so hard to get elims in those bigger arenas is that you can disappear. Like
oh for sure.
Brisbane maze is huge. Like if you want to,
Yeah,
you could disappear in there. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
people do
and people do.
behind rockets and stuff.
I still think that's climbing. It definitely seems like a climbing penalty. Um, yeah, I'd be excited to see how you guys went in our maze, and vice versa. I would love to send a team over to play in your arena because that would be. We've got a couple of guys that would absolutely thrive in that environment.
yeah,
Our King brothers here, they're so fast, and that really suits their style of play. You have to go and smash the resupply. There's no
yeah,
other way to play. You can't play kind of a zone control kind of
yeah.
game. Yeah.
We find that actually, despite how small it is, we find that both ways work pretty effectively.
Oh, really?
We find that like controlling commanders perform just as well as super aggressive ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of our people tend towards being aggressive, but it's just so unique in that you really can play either.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we often can put brand new commanders against super experienced ones, and if the team with the brand new commander just plays the control game, they can stay in it the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's very unique.
Well, I think because out of the teams that are heading to you guys for West Coast tournament, do you have an idea of how many have actually played there before?
Actually, quite a few have.
Yeah.
Um, the Loveland guys have been here. Most of their top players have been here.
Yeah.
I think almost everybody coming from Sacramento has. Like Disco Monkey and his crew have been here twice in the last few months.
Wow. Star for Laser
Um,
Force.
some of the Chula Vista guys have. Kodama has. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of them at least will have seen it. And with our, at least especially with how small it is, it's not really time consuming to learn.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like about it is, I mean, for when the people have come, even after 6 or 8 games, like it doesn't look like they're confused on what's what, and they're making call outs and they know where people are, and it's small enough that you don't really it doesn't take a long time to learn.
Have you guys got any have you guys done any filming or anything of the maze or anything like that? Like,
We talked about doing something for the tournament.
yeah.
Not really. We posted like a SM5 beginners video on YouTube a year or two ago that's got some shots of it, but nothing like no walkthroughs or anything like that.
Yeah. Um, that would be amazing to see it.
Yeah.
and,
Well, Inferno is a graphic designer,
oh, true.
and he's been talking about making a 3D map of it or mapping it out or
Yeah.
something. I don't think he has yet, but he's talked about it.
He should definitely do that. I mean, like, even just like it's hard, I suppose. I peer pressured Wolfman into doing one for their maze.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to get context from a video until you actually get
It
into
is.
the arena. But
That's true.
That is, yeah. I've yet to have a time where looking at an arena map or a video or anything like that was enough to get an actual understanding of how I thought the maze should play. You know, usually, I mean, it's not bad for a high level overview, but it's pretty much a guarantee. Like the second you actually walk into the maze the first time, you're gonna have that moment of, fuck, all my preconceived notions that I thought I had from that map are totally fucking wrong.
Yeah.
That's true.
Cool.
That's true.
Yeah, like maps, have floated around. I remember seeing a map of like Oakley's maze, I think, like way back in the early 2000s. And
yeah, no fucking idea what was happening with that at all.
You get this weird, top-down schematic of a of an arena. It's just not going to help you at all. You're like, oh yeah, that looks like you could resupply in there, and it turns out it's like the tiniest little like nook. You're like, yeah, okay, you could barely fit a person in there, let alone three. Yeah, okay, right on. Well, if you end up doing anything within the next few weeks, because by the time this gets released, there'd be sort of a couple weeks left, but I mean it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to see something.
Yeah, we at least going forward in some way. I know we'd like to do something. But who knows?
If someone's got a GoPro, like I don't know if you've seen them, but we did a bunch of filming in our arena, and that kind of helps. Like, well, I mean, I would imagine it does. I obviously know our arena pretty well, so, but yeah, just getting those like first person videos, they're pretty badass videos anyway, just on their own.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to cover or want to talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think you have to ask me the questions. I can't come up with questions.
Fan, did you have anything?
No, I mean I think we've kind of covered the evolution of Eves from a young wee lad of starting his Laser Force career to the absolutely dominating force that he's turned into.
The terrifying wall of thunder.
Yeah. So
I try to be. I don't know how successful I am all the time, but
you're successful often enough. Let's put it that way.
Even as we all get older and well into our 30s, still
speak for yourself.
Yeah, I include you in there, man. Like you're well into your 30s.
I'm past my 30s.
Yeah, well into your 30s. It's still a terrifying terrifying thought of having to come up against, having to break you as a heavy is just, one of my greatest fears in Laser Force. It's right up there with facing Rusty as a heavy.
Well, I try. I definitely hope to one day be known as
one of the goats.
And especially as much of a teacher as I am like a player.
Yeah.
That's something I've really strived for since I started playing, was attempting to understand the game and understand why it's played the way that it is, and in a way that I can help other people understand how to play it better.
Yeah, because I'd imagine that from a site perspective, you're now one of the old guard, and that's kind of your job, right? Is to help bring those newer guys through.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a good job about it, man. Yeah, and like my impression of you has always been, of not only a dominating heavy, but a pretty damn top bloke as well, and that's going back from when we first.
He's okay.
2010.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
He's okay. He's all right.
He's all right.
He's old.
All right. Well, look. We'll leave it there until we until next time when we run out of things to talk about and we call you up at real last minute.
Awesome. Excellent.
But yeah, thanks again for coming on and sharing a bit more about you and helping us
Yeah,
get to know you a
thanks.
bit more.
It was
been
cool.
awesome. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, for this week, I've been Guy Next Door.
And I've been Than.
Always remember to backtrack, kids. We will see you next week.